Some local marijuana users staged a very public display of support at the Regina police station this afternoon, protesting Canada's pot laws.
Every arrest that's made now for marijuana is an illegal arrest.
Mark Emery, the leader of the BC Marijuana Party, spoke out on the steps of the police station before lighting up a marijuana pipe. Emery's smoking ended in his arrest while a crowd of protesters cheered him on. Emery is fighting to relax Canada's marijuana laws. He's already been arrested 11 times at 9 different jails. Regina's jail is the 10th. Emery will stay there until he appears in court on Monday.
But immediately, we must acknowledge that marijuana is already legal. I'm not even committing a crime here. We're having a legal demonstration to celebrate the smoking of a legal plant that's been legal since August 1st, 2001, and we need the Attorney General of Saskatchewan to admit that this is the case.
The fact is it's illegal in Canada. Until that changes, we'll enforce the laws. And it's not our place to make the law.
Well, I'm back, and what a trip it was. I went to, as you know, the Summer of Legalization Tour. I went to Winnipeg, was meaning to go to Dauphin, Manitoba, and I went to Regina. And the first leg of the trip, well, it was great. I must tell you, getting arrested, going to jail is never that good. I was in jail 24 hours in Winnipeg. I was in jail in Regina for 6 hours, which is merciful. They don't keep people in jail overnight there without seeing a magistrate, so I was released. Now, sooner or later, as the tour continues onward to Halifax, MONCTON, Charlottetown, and I hope I get as far as St. John's, Newfoundland, it could get dicey. You know, there'll be breaches of bail conditions. You know, you're supposed to keep the peace and all that sort of stuff. And even though the police departments admit that, half a gram to a gram of marijuana is not like a major crime, and it's not like they doubt I'm not coming back to see my trial. And of course, all along, I'm claiming that marijuana is legal. I'm not even breaking the law, and that is substantiated. And the newspapers, which is the great thing about the tour, is starting to report that, in fact, there is no marijuana. They're actually giving the accurate reasons that the Ontario Court of Appeal set conditions for the federal government in July 2000, of which the federal government did not appeal this decision. They agreed they would rewrite a new marijuana law for medical people. They failed to do so after the court ordered 365 days. So I am telling everybody everywhere I go that as of August 1st, 2001, there has been no marijuana law, not just for possession. Remember, Terry Parker, as I keep pointing out to the media wherever I speak, and there's a great media turnout in Regina and in Winnipeg, I keep telling people that Terry Parker was a person who grew marijuana, and he was there seeking remedy because even though he had an exemption and he was growing pot, the police kept raiding him. And the courts said that a new law was required to make sure people who have a medical exemption are protected from police raids. And therefore, he struck cannabis out of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. The Court of Appeal, Ontario Court of Appeal, struck cannabis out of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act Schedule 2. Took it right out. And the judge later said if he were charged with trafficking and or cultivation, I would have struck it out of that too. But he was only charged with possession by Toronto Police. So the possession law was struck down. But the thing is, you don't just take the word cannabis out of the schedule and say it only applies to possession. You know, basically, cannabis has become legal, and I'm trying to tell people that, and the courts in Ontario have recognized that that's what the Ontario Court of Appeal had in mind. The federal government didn't appeal it, they agreed to it, so they're complicit in this decision. It's not like it was forced on them. They could have appealed it to the Supreme Court of Canada, they chose not to. So here we have a situation where, in my opinion, marijuana has been legal for almost 2 years. 2 years, so every charge, I believe, that has been applied for trafficking, for cultivation, and for possession of marijuana for the last 2 years across Canada is entirely an unlawful prosecution, and that all these prosecutions should be overturned. So not only should I not be charged for possession of marijuana, and no one should be charged contemporarily for that, but for the last 2 years, all these convictions should be overturned, all our property returned to us, our marijuana returned to us, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the message I'm taking across Canada. Now, you know, jails are not a great thing. One of the things I talk to about, everything starts at 4 o'clock, so my next rallies be there at 4 o'clock. Don't wait till 4:20 because I'm just getting hauled away by then. Come at 4 o'clock sharp at the location that they're usually downtown police headquarters, and check the schedule. I'm in Halifax on Saturday, July 19th, and if all goes well there and I get out in time, I'm in MONCTON on Monday at 4 o'clock. on July 21st, and if I don't get let out of jail in Halifax, I won't make MONCTON, and who knows about Charlottetown and St. John's, but as long as I'm free, I will be appearing in those places. And one of the things I point out to people is, you know, I'm 45, I've seen jails, people are nice to older people typically, and, you know, I don't have many enemies in prisons, and guards are polite to you when you're my age and probably well known. It's the 18 and 21-year-olds, 24-year-old girls, boys, young men that I would be very worried about. You know, jails are a lonely, cold place, make you terribly depressed and frightened, and there's people of all kinds in there, and you know, there's not a comfortable spot in the entire prison. I don't imagine it's supposed to be comfortable, I guess, in whatever raison d'etre that prisons serve. You know, everything is concrete and steel and uncomfortable and, you know, embarrassing, and the food's terrible. And I'm a vegetarian, so there's nothing to eat anyway. I don't know, you know, I'd hate to have to be there for several days, because a lot of prisons had no allowances for vegetarians. And Winnipeg Remand didn't even have a box for it. They did, you know, and it's a competitive Darwinian struggle. When the food arrives at 7:30 in the morning, guys will scoop out 3 or 4 cartons of food there and take whatever they can. So you've almost got to fight over it. Yeah, it's a discouraging thing. You know, most people like to sleep in a dark room. You know, when you're in prison, the light's on above you at all times. You never have a dark room to sleep in, probably for your own safety. You know, but mostly so the guards can see if they need to. But the consequently is you don't sleep too well, if you sleep at all. And, you know, life is miserable. Now, I actually did get some messages. Nita from the Mississippi U.S. Marijuana Party was able to get through to the police station in Winnipeg, and they passed on. You know, I think she was the first one, and she said, Mark, we're all rooting for you. I think by the time they got 100 calls, they you know, were getting probably pretty annoyed. But it was kind of fun knowing people were calling up and supporting me, and it reminds the jail that people do notice, although of course they're not allowed to make any kind of concession to that. Jails aren't influenced by popular opinion and phone calls, but it was nice to know people were calling both the Regina Constabulary and the Winnipeg Constabulary. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I leave in just 4 or 5 days for Halifax. It's a grueling tour, and I'm hoping we can get 200 people in Halifax. I've had about 50 to 70 people so far, which I think is a little low. I think it would be nice to get 200-300 people, but 200 people in Halifax I'd like to see. I've only been to Halifax once in my life, and I'm looking forward to my next trip to Nova Scotia. I want to thank everybody. Send cash, keep sending cash. Come and buy seeds at the store. Contribute money, we really need it. I have to pay lawyers in each city I'm charged. There's bail conditions, there's flights back there. It's an extremely expensive proposition not to go there, just to go there and break the law in the first place, but to go back and have my trial dates in all these different provinces will probably cost $1,000 per location. So send money, help out any way you can. I appreciate the support a lot. It's very meaningful. It's exhausting work. Going to jail for 24 hours just drains you and makes you think a lot about what you're doing and what have you, and we've got some great footage of my speeches. I'd tell you what I told you, but you're going to see it right coming up, and I'm really proud of what I said, and I'm proud of the message I've been able to get out. We've gotten terrific media coverage. I'm on the front page today of the Regina News Post Leader, or Leader Post, I think it might be called. There's a nice picture there of my green and white Saskatchewan colored bong that I got donated from Head to Head Novelties. Tim's a wonderful guy. They've got some great shops in Regina and Winnipeg, and I'm pleased to see that the cannabis culture is represented well in those areas, but especially well in Dauphin, Manitoba, where I wasn't able to make my rally there, but they hooked my cell phone speaking up to a PA system. I was able to speak to the crowd there. They had 40 cops there to greet me in Dauphin, Manitoba. So congratulations to John and his wife and at Sweet Temptations in Dauphin. Thanks a lot to Chris Boers, who escorted me around Winnipeg, and I got to meet every member of the Winnipeg Compassion Society, and it was nonstop meeting people. I met just people, person after person in Regina and Winnipeg, and it never stopped. I met hundreds of you, and great to meet my people, and I am, in my opinion, I like to think I'm your general leading the fight, and I was very grateful to meet everybody. I signed hundreds of magazines and brochures and what have you. And hope you like my stuff there. Hope you like my speeches. I'm coming to Halifax this Saturday, July 19th. Please be there for me. Drive anywhere you can if you live in the Maritime, because you know, I may not get out. That could be the last leg of the tour. If they work it so that I don't get out for a couple of weeks, then you know, you'll have seen history in the making before they put an end to it. So I'm not looking forward to spending a long time in jail, but it'd be nice to see your face there if I do have to go away. So see you on the Summer of Legalization Tour 2003, and let's hope I'm still smiling.